Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, I have two fun projects to share with you. We're using the Simon Says Stamp card kit for September 2024. And we're using everything in the card kit, well, almost everything. We're going to bring in a couple extra die sets, the circle die set and a rectangle die set, but everything else is using the kit contents. We're going to be using the acetate card bases, stamp set, embossing folder. There is vellum in our card kit. We're going to be using that along with one of the tags and this fabulous die set. So let's jump in and get started. We're going to start by using our rose-winged butterfly. We're going to die cut this out and keep it very basic. I'm going to take some white cardstock and we're going to die cut out our butterfly. And I'm hoping when I die cut this out, the pieces will stay in because we're going to add a little color. So I'll run this through my die cut machine and I will be right back. I got lucky. For the most part, all the pieces stayed in. The middle wants to pop out. In fact, we can just take that out. What's going to make this easier for coloring, or actually it's going to make it easier to hold its shape, is keeping those negative pieces in here. Now I'm going to add a little bit of shading. I want the rose part and the leaf part inside of our butterfly wings to be a neutral color. So I'm bringing in my Copic marker. This is a W3. And what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of what I call messy coloring. From the butterfly body, I'm just going to do messy coloring right over the flower and then right over the leaves. Okay, you want to just make sure that you're not hitting the outside edge of your butterfly, and that's all there is to it. Now while I'm coloring, I'm going to go ahead and take some yellow Copic markers. I'm using 3 different colors. I have a YR27, a 23, and a 20, and what we're going to do is just color in the butterfly body real quickly. I'm going to add a gradient with the darkest being on the bottom. And then our butterfly body is good to go. Let's go ahead and put these aside. And then I'm going to push out the negative pieces of my butterfly. Once we have all the pieces punched out, you'll notice I kept my negative piece. What we're going to do is bring in a piece of vellum. I'm going to place my negative over the vellum, and then just using a pencil, I'm going to trace around it. I'm not worried about the antenna of the butterfly, just the butterfly base. Now I'm going to use my scissors, and we're going to cut out our vellum butterfly. And this part doesn't have to be perfect. And if you have any pencil marks showing, you can always just use your eraser. Okay, I'm going to keep this because we're going to actually use this in just a minute. So now we have an outline for our butterfly. What I'm going to do is bring in my tape runner. I'm going to add some adhesive behind just the body of my butterfly. You can use glue if you want. Sometimes I think tape runners are a lot quicker. And I'm just going to tack this down. And I'm going to kind of lift up those wings so they're kind of free-flowing a little bit. And you can see why your fussy cutting doesn't have to be perfect, because it's not laying directly on top of it. Okay, I'm going to take my butterfly body. We're going to add some adhesive behind this. And I'm going to tack this back in its home. And our butterfly is good to go. Now I'm going to bring in that rectangle die set. The one that I'm using is from Waffle Flower. I'm going to create a small window frame with the 2 smallest. I'm going to bring in some white cardstock. While I'm die cutting, I'm also going to bring in the coordinating chunky Thankful Greetings die set. I'm going to die cut out some white cardstock with this flourish. I'm going to die cut out 4 times because we're going to do some stamping with this. So 2 of the frames, 4 of these flourishes, and I will be right back. I'm going to stamp this one here, and I'm also going to stamp the greeting that says thank you for your thoughtful gift. I'm just going to use the thank you in here. I want a small sentiment for this card because there's going to be a lot going on. Take the large greenery flourish, and I'm just going to add it to an acrylic block. I have my Simon Says Stamp positively saturated inks here. I have Cheeky, Cabbage, and Flannel. For our first card, we're just going to use Cabbage and Flannel. I'm going to ink up my image with my Cabbage, and then I like to add a little bit of gray, which is Flannel, to the edges, just to give this leaf two tones. And then I'm going to stamp it on my die cut. Wonderful. Wonderful. And I'm going to repeat the process. If you want to stamp first and then die cut, you could very well do that. My preference for today's projects is die cutting first and then stamping, because it's very easy to line up. I'm going to go ahead and take some white cardstock, and using my intense black ink, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my greeting here. And again, I'm just using the thank you for my card today. So I'll stamp this, and then I'm going to cut out, I want to go ahead and trim away just the thank you. And it's spaced big enough to where you can do that. I went ahead and took one of my clear A2 acetate card bases, and what we're going to do next is take the largest die, and I'm going to create a panel. This panel is going to be slightly smaller than my card base. It's going to fit perfectly on the inside of my card, leaving me a border. So let's go ahead and adhere this directly to the inside. I'm going to add some adhesive here. And this is good to go. Now I die cut out the same size panel, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on the back of my card base. This is just going to give me extra room to stamp a message, but it's also going to give me room to stamp my stamp that says handmade with love. Okay, so we have the inside and the back. Now on the front side, I thought we would do something a little special. I'm going to use my tape runner, and I'm going to add adhesive to all four sides of this piece of vellum. What you want to do is let me zoom in a little bit. Now what you want to do is make sure that all of your sequins are inside that tape that you just added to the outside edge. And you want to make sure that all of your sequins are flat. If you have a sequin cluster, you want to make sure to separate them and keep this inside as flat as you can. Okay, so once they're all flat, you're going to bring in your card base, and I place the sequins. My adhesive is on the top. Okay, so what we're going to do is bring this into our card base. I'm going to position this where I want it on the inside of my card base, and I want it towards the top left corner here. I think that's a good spot. Okay. I don't want you guys to have a glare, so I'm positioning this in the top left corner here. Okay, and then I'm going to close the top of my card base, if you want to make sure it's straight, and then I'm going to press down that vellum to the front of my card base. Press down really good, and so the front of your card is still smooth. Inside has that vellum piece. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean my work surface. I have tape on here, and then we're going to continue. Now we're going to add our frames. I'm going to put adhesive on the back. Okay, I'm going to put one directly over the top. Okay, so we have a frame with some sequins in it, and then I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to take my next frame, and we're going to sandwich that acetate between them both. This is just going to create a clean look on the inside and the outside. But so far right now, we're just one layer. There's no dimension, but we have a fun shaker on the inside and out. Now after we have this done, we're going to add some adhesive behind our greenery. And I like to add it to this top corner here. When adding adhesive, I suggest just adding it to the very base of the stems. This way when you flip over your card, you can't see any of the adhesive on the reverse side. Okay, now we're going to add our butterfly. I am going to put adhesive down the spine, and then I went ahead and die cut out another base portion of the butterfly for the back And another body. We're just going to inlay this. This is not necessary, but you're going to be able to see the bottom of the butterfly on the back side, and I just wanted it to look clean. At the very top, I'm going to add some adhesive, and then I'm going to tack down my butterfly in this bottom corner here. Just tack it down, and I do like to fluff the wings up. Of course, when you mail this, for the most part, we're still one layer. But I do like to fluff the wings up because I think it looks real pretty. Okay, we're going to open this up, but you could see the butterfly body was, you could still see it through here. So it just gives the clean look. I'll add my greeting. We're going to add it to this very top area. That's what the inside looks like. Still looks good. A fun, pretty flat card with room for a message on the back. If you wanted to create an open flap on the back for an extra long message, you could do that also. I think that would be just as pretty. But that finishes off that card. Let's jump into card number 2. For my next card, we're going to be doing some stamping. So I'm going to bring back those inks that we used earlier. This time we're going to stamp one flower. I'm using Cheeky ink. It's a really pretty corally color. We'll go ahead and stamp this. Wonderful. I'm not going to worry about the flower center. We'll put this back, and then we're going to take the small flourish here, and I'm going to stamp about 10 leaves. We're going to take this stem and leaf. I'm going to stamp with my cabbage ink, and I am going to add a little bit of my flannel to the edges here. And for this one, I'm not worried about the stem because we're going to end up cutting those off. We'll add a little bit of gray. Stamp this. Beautiful. Okay, let's put this back, and then I'm going to take the single leaf, and we're going to stamp this as well. Now I'm going to take the coordinating dies, and I will cut out our flower and our leaves. And then while we're die cutting, I'm also going to take some circle dies. I have 2 nesting circle dies, and I'm going to take some white cardstock. We're going to create a small thin frame with white cardstock, and then I'm also going to take another piece of cardstock, and we're going to die cut out Thankful. We're going to create a background with this. Once I have my die cutting done, what I'm going to do with the leaves is just trim away the stem on the top and the bottom for both of these. We'll just trim away that stem. Okay, so we have 3 leaves. I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive behind my flower, and we're going to tack down some leaves behind here. And I may adjust them in a little bit. We'll see. We'll put this to the side. And then we have that thin frame. I thought we would make a wreath with our flourishes. So I'm going to add some adhesive on the back side. And I just like to add adhesive to the stem portion because this way I can tuck. But this will follow along the curve of our thin frame beautifully. So what you're going to do is just take the flourish, go over the stem portion, tack it down, and repeat the process. This creates a really pretty frame. When there's a curve like this to any kind of flourish, I love doing wreaths. And then there is our beautiful wreath. I am a little bit shy here. I could readjust if I want to, but I think I can get away with this because we're going to put a greeting right on top of this. So I'm going to put this to the side, and now we're going to do embossing. Let's bring in our embossing folder and our tag. I'm going to place my tag inside my embossing folder, and I want a little bit of the open area showing, so I'm going to scoot it all the way as far as I can. And look how gorgeous that is. So beautiful. Now I'm going to add a little bit of color to my butterflies, and I just want some softness. So I'm going to bring in some Distress Oxide inks. I have spun sugar, scattered straw, and tumbled glass. We're mixing up inks today. I think Distress Oxides glide over embossed areas a lot smoother. So I'm just taking my blending brush and I'm just going to hit different sections just with a little bit of a sweeping motion. Again, I don't want too much color. We're going to end up chopping the bottom off. But just a little bit of color. Okay, so we have a little tumbled glass. We're going to add a little bit of scattered straw. Kind of mixing the two together to create that green. Real springy color, so we add a little bit of scattered straw, and then I'm going to bring in my spun sugar, and we're going to add a little pink. And it didn't take no time at all, but it's still real soft. Now I'm going to take my paper trimmer and we're going to trim a little bit off the bottom, and then I'm also going to bring in that rectangle die that we used for our first card, and I'm going to die cut out a background panel for this. We're going to make another clear card. So we have our pattern paper on the front and a message area on the back. Okay, you probably have a little bit of room on the inside once we get it all covered, because we're going to put this tag on the very front of our card base too. Okay, I'm bringing in my stamping positioner and a piece of our vellum. I already treated my vellum with my anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to bring in the large Thankful. I'm going to add it on the inside here, and then I'm going to be using my Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. I'm going to ink this up. If you have a watermark ink, you could use that. White just seems to show up a lot nicer. I'm going to go over my Thankful with some white embossing powder. I'm going to use my heat gun and we'll go ahead and melt this, and then I'll die cut this out. And the vellum just embosses beautifully. I'm going to use some of my craft tacky glue and add little dots of adhesive behind my embossed area. Then I'm going to tack this down on the outline that we created. We're going to go ahead and take our tag that we embossed. I'm going to bring in some twine. The twine that I'm using is from Doodlebug. It's lily white. And I'm going to go ahead and trim down a piece. And then we're going to thread it through our tag here. Now I'm going to take another piece of white cardstock. And then I'm just going to follow along my tag here with my scissors. Very easy to follow along since they're straight cut lines. But I want to create a background for the tag. Okay, because I'm going to use some foam tape to pop this up. I'm using Simon Says Stamp's foam tape. Okay, I'm going to remove the release paper. And I'm going to place this from the bottom of that pattern paper. We'll just tack this down. And then I'm going to tie a bow at the very top. Okay, now with this inside piece, I'm just going to use my tape runner. I'm going to add some adhesive. And we're going to place this on the inside, covering up that foam tape, because you can see it doesn't look very pretty. I'm going to add some adhesive to the left and right here. And I'm going to tack this down, maybe a little bit more. And I'm going to tack this down to my wreath. This is where I'm going to cover up that section. Okay, I'm going to flip this over. We're going to use some more of the foam tape on the back side, just over our Thankful. I removed the release paper, and while I was at it, I went ahead and stamped the greeting in our stamp set that says, "Feeling Very." Okay, what we're going to do is tack down our wreath with our Thankful. I'm going to add my flower just off to the side here. And then I'm going to take my Feeling Very and do a little tucking with it. Okay, lastly we're going to bring in our Northern Light sequins. And then we're going to add just a few in our background, maybe around our wreath. We're going to use some of our craft tacky glue. We're definitely going to add one to the center of our flower here. Just to make my little flower center a little bit more bulky, I'm going to bring in some Nouveau Dream drops, and I'm going to add just a drop right in the center of this, right over that sequin. And that will finish off that card. It's a nice soft card. Plenty of room for a message on the inside. Let's take a look at both cards that we made. And those are my clear acetate cards that we made today with the Simon Says Stamp September 2024 card kit. The card kit is called Chunky Thankful Greetings, and I hope this gives you a little bit of inspiration. Have a fabulous day.